the life torn apart. We turn away, but it's happening. The blood's on our hands, on our hearts. What have we done to these children? What do they see? What do they know? Their homes are gone, they're crying, while our taxes fund the show. What's in your head? In your head? Shadows rising, yeah, yeah, yeah. What's in your head? In your head? While our taxes fund the show. What's in your head? In your head? Shadows rising, yeah. They're dying, gas is burning, no denying, and the walls that keep on burning, while the world keeps on lying. They're dying, no more voices, no more crying, what we pay for keep denying, but the truth shining. Iraq's in ruins, it's endless, twice torn apart by our greed. Deserts turn to battlegrounds, but who profits from their need? The innocent scream unheard, while missiles strike from the sky. We're fed the lies that we believe, while the people, they just die. What's in your head? In your head? Shadows rising, yeah, yeah, yeah. What's in your head? In your head? While our taxes fund the show. What's in your head? In your head? Shadows rising, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're dying, doesn't burn it.
Good morning, streaming world. Happy hump day. It's Wednesday, April the 7th. You guys may have just noticed a brand new pre-roll track, new track. The video are still the same obnoxious video on purpose. New audio there. We'll explain on the back end of the show, exactly what happened there and YouTube's harassment of this show.
I'll do better than explain it. I'm going to show them. I'm going to bring. Okay. I got receipts.
Okay, so we'll do that on the back of this episode after we talk to you about the news and all. So thank you for tuning into the TMI Show. I am Manila Chan. That over there is producer Robbie West, in for Ted Rall, who I think is traveling in space. I think he went on Jeff Bezos's new rocket. So I don't know when he'll be back.
Yeah, I honestly, like a week or so. I have no idea where the man is. I do not know. It's truly an undisclosed location.
It is. I have some idea, but I don't necessarily know that that's the final destination, or I don't know. But he could. I mean, seriously, Ted could have just launched into space because Jeff Bezos is taking like whoever up into space. Like all those women, and the fallout from it is still unfolding. But anyway. You are, in fact, tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, even though the Ted is not here. So we'll explain this another YouTube dust up after we do the news. And of course, if you are brand new to this program, this is a news and commentary show. We will tell you the news unfiltered and then have some commentary that can get kind of spicy. So if you're looking for something straight-laced, this ain't it. Probably not safe for work. Just letting you know now. That's what's in store for you. We're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Please be sure to like and follow the show wherever you're consuming this content. And before we begin, at least something worth mentioning. We're not going to get too far into it, but The Papal conclave begins today, Robbie. The College of Cardinals had been convening all week since Pope Francis's funeral on last Saturday. So the actual conclave begins today. This is like a thousands-year-old tradition, cloak and dagger. Nobody knows really what happens there. They vote a couple of times a day. They narrow it down to whoever is going to be the new pope. We've, there's a few favored horses on there, but we should point out, Robbie, that the late Pope Francis, I think there's like 130 some odd cardinals in there in this College of Cardinals. And the late Pope Francis actually appointed, I think, something like 80 of them to, we can call it the bench, right? It's kind of like the bench. So out of like the 130 some odd cardinals, he selected the newest 80.
Huh?
So I don't know if, it's stacking the court basically. So there's a good chance that these cardinals might vote for somebody in the same vein of Francis. So we will see. And everybody,
Well, I mean, if you're an apostate, what you do is that you stack as many apostates as you can. I mean, that's how you destroy an organization from within.
We're just coming out of the gates.
Correct.
Oh my God. The largest, I don't know if it's just the largest Christian denomination, but it's the largest, if not the second largest religious group sect in the world. Catholics, Roman Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie is calling them all apostates. So.
No, I said the Pope is an apostate.
Oh, okay.
Pope Francis was an apostate. I mean, you can get
that's a lot of people be offended by that.
I don't care. I mean, what else is offensive? The thumbnail that I made. And you know what?
I know.
I do not care.
I know.
Facts don't care about your feelings. Robbie Ben Shapiro.
Robbie D. Gaff. That's what it is. Robbie D. Gaff. So with that, let's hop into the main topics of the show, get into the news, and then we'll try to keep this down to the hour, especially since Robbie's going to bring the receipts at the back half of the show. So here we go. All right, so let's get into some headline news here, Robbie, because overnight, some stuff happened. Kind of some major stuff that we have been monitoring on this particular show for the past 2 weeks. So India attacked Pakistan along the Pakistani Kashmir side. The side of Kashmir that's controlled by Pakistan. Late Wednesday night, at least it was, it was late Tuesday night for us rather. And Pakistan says they shot down 5 Indian fighter jets. This is the worst fighting in more than 2 decades between these two nuclear armed neighbors. The Indian strikes included targets in Punjab, its first attacks on Pakistan's most populous province since the last full-scale war between these old bad blood enemies more than half a century ago, triggering fears of further hostility on, one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints is Kashmir.
Yeah.
And of course, Kashmir also has a flashpoint between India and China as well. Tomorrow, we're going to be bringing on a regional expert to discuss this. So we're going to sit tight and watch whatever's unfolding, of course. And our expert guest tomorrow will weigh in and explain what it is that we're seeing. Pakistan said India, quote, had ignited an inferno in the region and that it would respond, quote, at a time, place, and manner of its choosing to avenge the loss of innocent Pakistani lives and blatant violation of its sovereignty. India said that it struck 9 what they call terrorist structures or infrastructure. Some of them linked to what they say was that Islamist militant attack on Hindu tourists that saw 26 people killed on the Indian side of Kashmir a couple weeks ago. 4 of the sites were in Punjab and 5 in Pakistani Kashmir, they say.
Yeah, it looks like some of the targets that were hit were mosques, according to Sputnik.
Yeah. So the Pakistanis are saying the Indians are attacking civilian sites, which is always a bad thing, no matter who's doing it. India had earlier said 2 of the 3 suspects in that tourist attack were Pakistani nationals, but they've not detailed any evidence of that. Pakistan denied that it had anything to do with the killings. Of course, when we say Pakistan, we mean the state. It doesn't mean that these weren't Pakistani people, but Pakistan, the state, is saying that they were not involved. Islamabad said 6 Pakistani locations were targeted. None of them were militant camps, they're saying. So they're saying India is bombing civilian areas only. So far, at least 26 civilians were killed, they say. 46 have been wounded. That's according to a Pakistani military spokesman. Indian forces attacked facilities linked to Islamist militant groups, according to 2 military spokespeople on the Indian side over in New Delhi. The strikes targeted terrorist camps, they said, that served as recruitment centers. So I'm going to underscore that language because it could be a mosque, Robbie, like that. The Indians could say that that the Pakistanis use these mosques to recruit.
An insurgency by definition is blended in with the civilian population. I mean, that's
right.
That's what an insurgency is. I mean, there's a reason why the U.S. Army leveled the Iraqi city of Fallujah. That's how you got rid of the insurgents. And it just goes to show just how restrained the Russians have been in their fight with Ukraine, because they're not fighting an insurgency. They're fighting another army. That's the difference.
Right. So the Indians are saying that they also went after launch pads, indoctrination centers, and places that housed weapons or other similar training facilities. That's according to the Indian military spokespeople. They said Indian forces carefully chose warheads to avoid collateral damage to civilians and civilian infrastructure, but they didn't elaborate on the specifics or methods that were used in these strikes. Quote, intelligence and monitoring of Pakistan-based terror modules showed that further attacks against India were impending. Therefore, it was necessary to take preemptive and precautionary strikes. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, the top official, said during a press briefing. A statement from the Pakistan Prime Minister's office said that 5 Indian aircraft and drones have been shot down. India has not confirmed that is true. Local government sources on the Indian Kashmir side told Reuters that 3 fighter jets had crashed. So, keep that in mind. They say, no, it didn't get shot down. They didn't get shot down. They just crashed in separate areas of the Himalayan region overnight, which, I would say isn't, if you're trying to save face, that's not really saving face either. All 3 pilots had been hospitalized. Apparently they survived, I guess. Indian Defense Ministry officials were not immediately available to confirm that report. Images circulating on local media showed a large, damaged, cylindrical chunk of silver-colored metal lying in a field at one of these crash sites. Reuters could not immediately verify the authenticity of that image. I think I have it here, actually. I'm not sure. Well, this one's from the AP, but that's what allegedly it is. The smoldering stuff that we're seeing is allegedly a piece of an Indian fighter jet. So this thing is called Operation Sindoor. The Indians are calling this Operation Sindoor. This is, besides air attacks, the South Asian neighbors are also exchanging intense shelling, heavy gunfire across much of this de facto border. The shelling killed 10 civilians, wounded 48 in the Indian side, in the Indian region. So obviously Hindu majority India, Islam majority Pakistan. They have fought two of their 3 wars since independence in 1947 over this Muslim majority Kashmir, which both sides claim that they control and that they should own. Donald Trump has called this fighting, quote, a shame, and added, I hope it ends quickly. State Department Secretary of State Marco Rubio says to his national security team, they're trying to keep both sides of communication open to avoid escalation. I don't know if the U.S. has much control over this, but that's what they're trying to do over here in Washington. So I don't know.
I would think the Russians probably have more political influence in that part of the world than Uncle Sam does. I'd imagine
in
I'm
India?
sure. Oh yeah, well, India's a part of BRICS, so I'm sure.
Too?
Well, the thing is, Pakistan, like, they buy a lot of the weapons and stuff from the Russians. Like, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that if they did shoot down those Indian planes, they used Russian air defense systems to do it.
Probably.
And Russia is a major player in Central Asia, and that's kind of their backyard. And I'm sure what kind of like what Ted said last week. There's gonna be some fighting. They probably even gave the Indians maybe even gave the Pakistanis a heads up, say, hey, this is coming. So, that would explain why they're able to nail as many jets as they did, if they did. So,
right.
Hopefully it'll start fizzling out now that the Indians have done their punitive attack and call it good. Kind of like what Ted called last week.
I hope it's only that. You've volleyed some shelling back and forth and some killing back and forth. What I fear, and obviously this is no excuse for whatever happened on October 7th in Israel, but I'm not a fan of an eye for an eye anyways, but Israel's response, for example, in my opinion, is obviously way, way, way above and beyond what happened to them on October 7th, which I also think is a horrible thing. So this is not Israel. It's not a proportional attack.
These are two very different things, right? Israel wants to ethnically cleanse Greater Gaza. Greater Israel as a whole, Gaza and the West Bank. They want it.
These are two very different,
and they want those Palestinians gone. Whereas you have Pakistan, which is a real nation, unlike Palestine. They have an army, they have an economy, they have a military, they have a nuclear program, and so
they have elections, sort of.
Yes, well, maybe for a dog catcher.
We can call them elections. That's what That's still what they call it.
So, I think that this is probably more on the. I think this is probably more as a police action on the side of India, but we'll find out more tomorrow with the expert we're going to be talking to. But I think that's probably going to fizzle out now, and we'll just see what happens. Hopefully,
I hope this is it. I hope it's just a little skirmish again. It's horrible that around a dozen people have died on either side, but I hope it's contained to just this. I don't think Donald Trump's going to have much influence over Modi. Like you said, we saw videos of Narendra Modi, the Indian leader, when he went to Moscow not that long ago, a few months ago, last summer maybe, and he went to Vladimir Putin's private ranch. I think they were like riding horses and being bros.
Is Modi going to be at the Victory Day celebration? I don't know if he is or not with this going on.
I just read that Kim Jong-un will not be there, actually, as it turns out.
Oh, so you're just going to send like his VP or whatever, probably his
delegation,
maybe his sister.
Maybe, his sister is pretty high ranking, so maybe, I don't know. But the Victory Day parade is all the stuff is about. They're gonna, for them, it's the 9th for them, the 8th for us. So they are prepping the final things and the guest list as well. So I don't know. Given what's happened here, I would imagine that Vladimir Putin invited Narendra Modi.
Oh, I'm sure.
Is he going to show up? I don't know. Especially given what's happening.
Yeah, but if he does show up, I think that'll just be the proof that this is pretty much over. That India, they retaliated. They did their punitive attack, and this will be
you
where
slap
it ends.
Me, I slap you.
Yeah,
done. I hope.
Hopefully, that's what this is.
Senseless fighting. It's just so stupid to me, especially over land territory, and I don't get it. I don't get why people are so attached to these stupid things. Anyway, we'll move on to the next story because we gotta wait and see what happens if it does escalate. Remember, last week we talked about how the Pakistani foreign minister said that nukes are off the table. So we will see if they stay true to that. If they don't escalate, I hope they don't. I hope nobody escalates. And then we'll have our expert tomorrow on to discuss it and see if he thinks that's a reality, that we won't, because then people are going to be like, oh, what about the tactical nukes, little small tactical nukes, nuclear explosions?
There's no such thing as a small nuclear war. Once someone uses a nuke, I mean, at that point,
it's a nuke.
I mean, all bets are off, because then you run the risk of losing your deterrent. So you open up whatever you got. There's no such thing as a limited nuclear war.
Right. It's the same rules applied. The way I would apply it is you never point your firearm unless you mean it.
Yeah. I mean, if you point a gun at someone, you intend to send that person to meet Jesus. So that's when you do it. I mean, nukes are the same way.
And I hope that applies for nukes. So anyway, all right. So next story here. This is probably our big chat topic. I think Robbie and I are going to fight a little bit on this, as we did the other day.
Yeah. But this is not a Rumble exclusive, though, so I'll have to be good.
You have to be a little bit nicer.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what it is. Overnight, the Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed Donald Trump to enforce his transgender ban in the military while legal challenges still proceed. So it's not a final verdict, just to be clear. SCOTUS has put out a stay, what they call a stay, because remember, Donald Trump signed his executive order in early January when he was inaugurated to ban transgender people in the military. A lot of groups and people sued to make him flip that executive order to say it's unlawful. But what SCOTUS is saying here is, well, it might be within Donald Trump's purview to ban whomever he wants because he is the commander in chief. So right now, the SCOTUS is saying we're going to issue a stay on it. We're going to fight this out. It's probably going to go all the way up to SCOTUS, and it will have to become the de facto law of the land unless Congress actually passes a law on it, which they don't pass anything. So who knows? So that's what happened overnight. The court's 3 liberal justices said that they would have kept the policy on hold, as we would expect. Neither the justices in the majority or dissent explained their votes, which is actually not uncommon in these emergency appeal situations. So just after beginning his second term, we saw Trump go back to what he did in the first term. Because remember, he tried to do this in the first term. He tried to roll back the rights of transgender people within the military. Among the Republican president's actions was an executive order that claims the sexual identity of transgender service members, quote, conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's personal life, end quote. And he says that this is harmful to military readiness. So in response to this, our new SecDef, Pete Hegseth, he tweeted, quote, no more trans at DOD. And so earlier in the day, before the court acted, he had also tweeted this. He said that, his department was ending wokeness and leaving behind weakness, because he's equating, it's a play on words. Wokeness equals weakness. He says, no more pronouns. He was telling special ops forces in a conference down in Tampa. He said, quote, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit. That's a direct quote from Secretary Hegseth.
Good on him.
So the DOD on Tuesday said that officials are currently determining the next steps, but what officials were not aware of were any actions being taken right away. So even though this is the overwhelming sentiment within the Trump administration and the DOD led by Hegseth, nobody knows yet what the exact actions are going to be. So far, 3 federal judges had ruled against that ban. And this is where SCOTUS has stepped in to put a stay on it. In the case that the justices acted on Tuesday, U.S. District Court Judge Benjamin Settle over in Tacoma, Washington, had ruled for 7 long-serving transgender military members who said the ban is insulting and discriminatory and that their firings would cause lasting damage to their careers and reputation. Another prospective service member also sued. So somebody that's thinking about joining the military, they're also suing. I guess that person is trans. So the individual service members who challenged the ban together have amassed more than 70 medals, 115 years worth of combined service. The lead plaintiff is somebody called Emily Schilling, a Navy commander with nearly 20 years of service, including as a combat pilot who flew 60 missions in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. I think at that time, Emily went by a different name. They are now called Emily and identifies as a woman. The Trump administration offered no explanation as to why transgender troops who have been able to serve openly over the past 4 years and many more years than that, obviously, without any evidence of problems should suddenly be banned, says the judge in Tacoma, Washington. The judge is an appointee of Republican President George W. Bush and is a former captain in the U.S. Army Judge Advocate General Corps himself. Judge Settle imposed a nationwide hold on Trump's executive order, which the federal appeals court rejected. And the administration's, obviously, emergency plea here is what went all the way to SCOTUS. The Justice Department then turned to the Supreme Court. The policy has now been blocked by a federal judge also in the nation's capital here in Washington, D.C., but that ruling has been temporarily halted by these appeals courts, which heard our oral arguments last month. This 3-judge panel, including 2 judges appointed by Trump during his first term, appear to be in favor of Trump's administration position. So there's a lot more to this. I want to play Robbie one local person. I don't remember their name, but this is from CBS local news. This person serves, I think, as a colonel in the Air Force or the Space Force, and they are trans. So this is what they had to say about this.
I know at my core what I stand for, and I believe in the ideals of America and the oath that I swore to defend.
18 years in the United States Air Force, plus 4 years and counting in the Space Force. Colonel Boyfram has dedicated her life to serving her country. But a decision by the Supreme Court today brings into question whether her country can support her in return.
When that ruling came out, I and thousands of other transgender service members were doing the jobs and the missions that the military has assigned to us.
Colonel Fram is one of an estimated 15,000 transgender troops currently serving in the United States military, whose...
Okay, so you heard that report from CBS Baltimore. They say there's like 15,000 across all branches of the U.S. military. So we should point out that part of what Pete Hegseth's concern is about having trans people in the military is, even though they only represent like 1% of these 2.1 million people, volunteer military that are serving, a senior defense official said back in February that they believe about 4,200 troops are diagnosed, like properly diagnosed, with gender dysphoria across all the branches, including National Guard and the reserves. And the official said that between the years 2015 and 2024, the total cost for psychotherapy, gender-affirming hormone therapy, gender-affirming surgery, and other treatment for those roughly, we estimate 15,000 service members, that has cost the DoD in approximately the last 10 years, $52 million. So that's a lot of money to put towards a handful of people. And before you go on your tirade, let me just say that I'm actually with with the trans community on this. I think, hear me out first, Robbie. Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. If these people have been serving at whatever capacity, sometimes they, they're cooks, sometimes they're pilots, sometimes they're IT people that are trans in the military.
But they're all crazy.
Hold on. If they have been able to perform their job functions without anybody having to lower the bar, whether they're a combat person or whatever, I don't care if they're a cook or combat. If they have been able to perform their job duties without any interruption, regardless of what lower body parts were assigned to them at birth, I don't see why it's fair to fire these people from their jobs, especially these people that have been there for 20 plus years or whatever. Maybe you can institute this new ban, let's say henceforth from today, we're not bringing in any more, whatever. I think that is maybe in the purview of the commander in chief. And in this case, it's Donald Trump. And then for his SecDef, Pete Hegseth, that's really hard to say. SecDef, Pete Hegseth, that's within their purview to run the military the way they see fit. But that's henceforth. An argument can be made, yeah, we can retroactively go back and do this. But my argument is, if these people have been there all along since Trump's first term, and there have been no special accommodations made to these people, like let's say they aren't DEI hires, like this
but there
person.
There are accommodations.
Like this person by Biden.
But there are accommodations being made.
Maybe.
Like in the article that you just read, the department. Let's put it this way: the American taxpayer has paid over $50 million for a very small number of people who are mentally ill. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. Let's be honest. To go and mutilate themselves, take hormones, and that's a perk that is exclusive to them. It's funded by the U.S. taxpayer. Now, I'm about to break your mind. I would agree with everything that you just said. I would 100% agree with letting these people stay in the military if one thing had been done.
Well, if we don't pay for it, if we take away the payment for this? No, I'm saying if the military was like, fine, you can wear a dress if you want. I don't care if your uniform is pants or a dress. You can stay in. We're just not paying for your shit anymore.
Why does the military have people wear
uniforms?
Why does the military have people wear uniforms? What's the point? Why do people learn how to march? It's to build cohesion. It's about discipline. That is why. That's why you have standards. That's been the way of militaries from the very first ones ever made back in Egypt. That's why. Now, like I said, though, I'm actually going to agree with you on this. I have no problem whatsoever letting mentally ill people serve in the military, provided Congress passes a law saying, Mr. President, you must let these people in. Congress has not passed a law saying these people are allowed in. As a result, I'm going to rely on American on the American military traditions and the presidential authority that the Congress gives the president to be the commander in chief. Little known fact, Manila.
That argument, I get it.
Back in the days of the American Revolution, George Washington had soldiers executed for being homosexuals or committing sodomy. One guy was a private, but his name is Hickey, if I remember correctly. So these penalties are not as severe as what used to be back in the day when George ran the army.
Well, we also used to stone people for being witches.
And I have no problem with this. So again, remember who it is you're talking to. I'm a fundamentalist Christian. Now, that's not the legal code. We don't do it anymore. So much the better. It is still, however, the law of the land that the president is the commander in chief of the military.
Yes.
You're able to volunteer for the military. That does not mean that you get accepted. If you have heart problems, or if you have eye problems, or if you're nuts, you don't get to join the military. And also, the military is not the place for social engineering. The military,
sure,
what it's supposed to be for is winning wars, which we don't do because we are more interested in pronouns, dressing dudes up in drag, and calling people's feelings than we are actually defending the United States. Right now, we are a mercenary force who goes all around the world fighting stupid, pointless wars, and we're not good at it. We need to get back to the basic mission, which is defending the United States.
If people like all these, I have family in the military, active duty right now. My husband is a disabled veteran.
Sure.
Like, this is something that matters to me. I have lots of friends in the military or retired or whatever. So this is an area that is near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
Let's just say, for example, this is a trans man, this was a woman that transitioned to being a man and served in the military.
It's still a woman.
With distinction.
It's still a woman.
Distinction. So with distinction, and here's the thing: if that person, I don't know what their rank was, Shane Ortega is their name. If this biological woman that transitioned into being a man, if they were able to pass all of the rigorous physical tests without the bar being lowered, and that's one of the things the caveats that I agree with, having active duty family members in the military right now. If we went to war, let's say with Iran, because that seems almost inevitable, would I feel happy as a relative of somebody to say, oh, somebody not qualified to have my cousin's 6? Do I want them in the foxhole with my cousin who somebody who can't even pick up their 60-pound sack and put it on their back, much less carry out my cousin's, bleeding body? No, but that's the thing. That's some of the things that they have to get rid of within the military itself and within the DOD, unless I don't think Trump's going to object to that, but you shouldn't have two different barriers of entry for different genders. Like, if the job is a Navy SEAL, if the job is a Navy SEAL, if the job is to be a Navy SEAL, and the core test is the fucking core test that it is, and whoever can pass it, God bless. If a biological girl like me, somehow I got bitten by a nuclear spider and I have some Spidey strength or Spider-Man or Superman strength, then more power to Manila lifting up whole logs by myself, because I'll be able to drag my comrade that's injured, sling him over my shoulder, right? If I could do that as a biological female, then great, more power to me. So as long as the bar is the same for everybody, whatever your job is, whether it's IT, whether it's comms, whether it's cooking in the kitchen, why should the military in this day and age give two shits about what if people identify as this sex or that sex, wear this dress or wear those pants? Why does it matter if at the end of the day it's your military family and they got your 6?
So I really am going to have to respond to your word salad there, because none of it makes any sense. None of it matters.
Word salad.
Okay, so
if these people have jobs because they were in the military, like I said, combat or cook, don't care, everything in between. If they are qualified to be there based on an impartial set of qualification tests or whatever, whether it's strength or smarts or whatever, if they are qualified to be there, why does it matter if they want to wear a dress?
Because if you're nuts, you're not qualified by definition. I mean, okay. So
not everybody's nuts.
If you think that you are a different person trapped inside of your body, then up until like 5 minutes ago, that was considered a mental illness. That is a statement of fact. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness.
Gender dysphoria but they're not saying that all 15,000 trans-identified people are considered gender dysphoric. But they have issued.
Then explain the difference to me. They explain the difference to me. Okay, if I'm a guy, I'm pretty sure that I am. At least last time I went and peed, I'm pretty sure I'm a guy. If I woke up tomorrow morning and I decided to tell my wife, I'm now a girl, I'm now a woman, I've been living a lie all my life, would you say that I have taken a radical left-handed turn and lost my mind.
So look, let's
Okay.
establish a little bit of the difference. So some trans people don't have gender dysphoria. They don't want to cut off their dicks. Some of these people, but that's usually what gender dysphoria is that they believe that they're born physically in the wrong body, and they have these inner conflicts. However, a lot of people that, remember, we used to call in the 90s, we used to just call them trannies, right?
Yeah, well
these are people that want to dress the other way and present their physical presentation as the other gender.
Well, that's fine.
So
you don't get to do that. If you're in the military, if you're in a homogeneous system, which the military is, again, that's why we have the entire idea about school uniforms. Like in Japan, that they have, the kids have school uniforms, militaries have uniforms. The reason is to make you, the entire point is to drive out individuality and make you work and fight and work together as a unit. That is the entire point. Social engineering has no place whatsoever in the military. And if you want to make that argument, if you want to turn the military, into this all-inclusive country club, that's fine. But you have to get Congress to pass a law for it. This whole thing is a non-issue. I mean, this whole story is dumb.
I agree. I understand that argument. I understand that argument because there is no law to say that that XYZ group of people can or cannot serve. There's no baseline law. So I get that. And I get that it's the discretion of the commander in chief ultimately, unless there's a law but
and if you don't like it, well, there's no buts. If you don't like it,
there's these anti-discrimination laws that are in place that you cannot discriminate against somebody's, sexual orientation, their race, their whatever, their marital status, even for a job, for an apartment, for buying a car, whatever. If those laws are already in place, how is that not extendable and applicable to the U.S. military? Because it's a job.
Because the military, again, going with the Constitution, the military is a all volunteer force, and there are certain powers that are given to the president as the commander in chief. He is the final authority on this. If a president decided tomorrow, he would say, I want all white Southern Christian men to be discharged from the military because I think they're all going to be Klansmen. It's stupid. It's asinine, but he has the power to do that. No, there are some things that are mutable, some things that are not. You're born an Asian woman. You will always be an Asian woman. You have no say in it. I'm born as a white man. I have no say in that. That is an immutable that is a mutable fact.
Sure.
However, I have the right to choose to dress up in drag. I have the right to choose if I'm going to cosplay as a girl. I have the right to choose if I'm going to cosplay as a girl and then go into a female's locker room and see what happens. I have that. I have that choice. That's not something that I was born with intrinsically that I cannot change. I have gray eyes, white skin, and a beard. I have a schlong. I cannot change those facts. I was born here in the United States. I can't change that either. That freak that you got right there on the screen, he chooses to be a freak. He chooses to wear a dress, still dresses from airports, and then pretend like he's some kind of a disadvantaged dude when the fact of the matter is he is a beta white dude wearing lipstick. Sorry, that is a choice. And as a choice, president...
Sam Brinton has been the butt of many of my jokes on air before because Sam Brinton, I would argue, is... I don't care that Sam Brinton's a freak. I mean, I think their choice of fashion has been horrendous, and especially to wear to work. Like, I don't care what body part is between your legs. Sam's choice of outfits is just not work appropriate and horrendous, and the look is just bad in general. Don't care.
But if you want to join the military, you would let him in.
I would say Sam is no, because I would say Sam, obviously I'm not a doctor, I'm not a shrink. I would say Sam is nuts because Sam is a repeat kleptomaniac stealing people's luggage at the airport. And some could argue that Sam Brinton got their job because Biden wanted a lot of representation within his administration. So Sam used to be the Department of Energy senior official. So, right. And I think that might have, I don't know, could have played a role of influencing Biden in selecting Sam for this. But in my view, I think Sam, if you're a kleptomaniac, like, which Sam has been accused of and is facing a lot of court charges all over the place. And
so I have a question for you. So how is kleptomania a mental illness, but gender dysphoria isn't? Explain that to me.
No, I didn't say that. I said gender. No. Gender dysphoria. I just said before, gender dysphoria is in fact a mental illness. It has been in the DSM books we're on DSM 5 or 6 at this point. It's been in there since DSM 1, the first one, the psychological rule book that all psychologists, operate out of. That's been in there since day one of the publishing of that book. But my point was to explain that there is a difference between somebody having a mental illness, and in this case, we're going to define it as gender dysphoria, versus somebody that chooses to live a trans life. They're not always all gender dysphoric. Like there's, and I'm not an expert on obviously the mental illness of how you define gender dysphoria in and of itself. I don't know what's going on in Sam's head. I just clown Sam for not making.
He's easy to clown on. Let's just be honest. The dude is very easy to clown on. It's just I guess
quite the look.
I mean, I guess that the whole point that I'm going to go with, for one thing, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really care about the story because, well, there's two reasons. One, if you're a guy wearing a dress, or if you're a girl who wants to pretend that you're a dude, or whether they have the surgery or not, there's something wrong. I mean, you were born in a body. It is your body. That is who you are. And if you think that that's wrong, then that is a you problem. And I have zero obligation whatsoever to go along with your delusions. You can pretend to be whatever you want. That guy right there can pretend to be a girl.
This is
that
is
his right.
Colonel Fram has the right. If
100%.
Colonel Fram
but I don't have to
wear a dress uniform instead of
the military
uniform.
Not in the military. He does not. He 100% does not. And I'm using the pronoun he on purpose. If you're in the military, and again, if you don't like it,
you relinquish a lot of your personal. No, I agree. You relinquish a lot of your
the entire point of the military is to kill people, blow stuff up, and it's all about homogeneity. And if you work as an individual,
you're no longer you. You're a group.
Because if the problem is with the military is that if you have 100,000 people working as individuals instead of as a unit, that is how you lose.
No, I get that.
The fact that
I understand the argument. I understand
I mean, that's why Trump is doing this. I have no problem with it. And the people who do, you have a simple solution. Seriously, this is like the easiest thing ever. Contact your congressman or your senator, get them to pass a law saying you want to have these people be allowed to actively serve. And then you have to deal with the fact you're going to have these people representing your country overseas in a uniform. And then when the real war starts, like I say, if the United States goes to war with Russia tomorrow, God forbid, let's just say it happens. If you think that those people on the front lines, now I realize not all of them are going to be on the front lines and people who combat stressful, but if you want to open up that floodgate, and if you're going to have a lot of people who are mentally weak to go against go toe to toe against a peer military, God help you, because you're going to lose.
Well, look, I'm not. You can't say all these people are mentally weak. Number one, because some of them are obviously clearly physically and potentially, I'm sure there are some in there in that 15,000 that are super high educated, very smart people that are trans in the these 15,000 in the military, right?
Maybe
that maybe superior to you and I, with their with their IQ scores. I'm sure one of them has to be at least, right? So I'm not gonna say that about them, but while I oppose DEI efforts in the way of, like I said, lowering like military fitness testing for DEI purposes, I'm against that.
To be honest with you,
beyond that, if you can serve. If that's where your heart is, do it. And I think the people that are like this person, like Colonel Fram, I think it would be a really shitty thing to do after 20 plus years that Colonel Fram has served active in the military and currently still, that they at least deserve like either an early retirement if you're going to force them out, or give them an honorable discharge. I hope it's not just outright firing and then to add insult to injury. I think that's completely wrong. And I just hope these people, if they get fired, that it's
I would
not
give you that.
fired, that
I would give you that.
because it's through no fault of their own that they're losing their job. They're just being who they are.
Of course it is.
And
That's
no,
100%
and
their
then Trump
fault. To
came
hell
in
it
and
ain't.
decided. Trump came in and decided you can't be you in the military. So I think
Hold on,
as long
hold
as they
on.
get an honorable discharge, that is the
Okay.
least that they can do.
Okay, why should I respect Colonel Fram if Colonel Fram can respect himself? I mean, if Colonel Fram can,
We could argue Colonel Fram is respecting herself.
he's a dude. Colonel Fram and all these other people, if you cannot accept yourself for who you are and what you are, I have zero obligation to respect what you pretend to be. You have
But the other
right.
argument is also that Colonel Fram is respecting who they are, and by dressing this way and growing out their hair or wearing lipstick or whatever.
Great. Then you know
Some
what?
people would
Maybe
argue that.
then you know what? Maybe Colonel Fram can, after he gets kicked out of the military for being nuts, maybe get a job at Bud Light as a new tranny spokesman.
I think Bud Light abandoned that.
I mean, listen. If you want to go and cosplay and pretend like that you're this other thing, more power to you. Knock yourself out. Enjoy. If the military is going to have to accept people who like Colonel Fram here, if you want to do it with all standards, get rid of homogeneity, you want to make let everyone follow their heart, so be it. Pass a law, mandate the president have to accept this, and then just watch what happens. Because the military is already a dumpster fire right now in terms of suicide, mental illness. We have a lot.
Yes.
We have bigger issues.
There's all kinds of other mental illness, Robbie.
And so, no, I agree. And so, how does compounding those existing problems with this help anyone or anything? You don't have the right to serve in the military. I am sorry, you do not. It is a volunteer force. Yes, you get to volunteer. You get to go in. If you don't cut the mustard, guess what? You don't get to go in. You don't get to go in and get your gender affirming surgery at the taxpayer's expense.
That part I agree with. I don't think we should pay as a taxpayer at all for anybody's.
Well,
that's a personal life choice.
Well, then if you want to get your
if you want to cut, I don't think my tax dollars should pay for your cut.
If you're in the military, guess what? That's the cut is part of your benefits package. So you're now Team Robbie. Welcome to the team.
No, I just think they could change that part and whatever.
Why? But that's discriminatory.
That's
discriminatory,
tweaks.
Manila.
No.
How are you going to deny this person their gender affirming care?
For the same reason that I don't believe anybody should get let's say using some sort of welfare benefit to get gender affirming care. I don't believe in that for anybody at all. So I believe like if you want to go get this, if I want to change my hair color, if I want to go get highlights tomorrow and go be blonde, I'm not going to ask the government to give me, some sort of government subsidy to go highlight my hair because I want to be blonde tomorrow.
Well, you won't, but somebody
will. That's my own choice.
But thank you. Colonel Fram right here, this dude is making the choice to pretend like he's a girl. He is making that choice. And that
we don't know
the bearded lady that you showed a little bit ago, doesn't matter. He has decided he is not going to go along with the military code. He's decided he is going to buck the system. He's decided he is going.
Shane Ortega.
He's decided that right there, same thing. That woman decided to mutilate her body. She did.
Shane Ortega.
She decided to mutilate her body, and guess what? She has a right to do it. However, she does not have the right for you or me to pay for it. Also, she doesn't have the right for me to have to accept what to play along with her fantasy. I do not have that obligation. Now, if you want to change the law,
you don't have an obligation. No, I agree with that. If you don't want to call them, their new name or their new pronouns or whatever, that's on you. That's fine.
And I won't.
I mean, I have
And
no
some
problem.
people-
I personally have no problem calling them whatever they want. I'll call them the Pope if they want. I don't care. Like, it's not a big deal to me. But if
But
you're
you know,
gonna
but you know why it should be?
side hustle getting my tax dollars to pay for it, that's a different thing.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and here's one of the reasons why you really should care about the whole thought police thing. Once the government or anyone for that matter, whether it's a corporation or whatever, is able to start getting you to police your speech, at that point they're going to start policing. It's going to start helping you conform your mind. So
that
you have
part,
to be.
I agree with you with was nobody can force you to speak or think the way whatever the entity is wants.
Yeah,
that's a personal choice.
But unfortunately, though, it happens all the time. Like up in Canada, they will put you before the Human Rights Tribunal. So how far is it going to go, Manila? How far? It's kind of like the debate that we had with Ted, about school choice. The problem is it never stops. It's never this far or no further.
Slippery slope argument is you take this one step and then you just fall down the stairs.
It's a social pathogen. It never stops. No, you know what else that grows? Cancer grows. You know what else grows? Parasites like tapeworms. I mean, you've got to deal with this. You've got to deal with it.
I'm going to give you the last word on that because we got to get moving. All right, real quick. I don't think there's much for us to say about this. I'm just going to read the news on it. The U.S. has announced a truce with Yemen on Tuesday. President Trump said in the Oval Office, quote, "We will stop the bombings. They have capitulated. We will take their word that they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's the purpose of what we're doing," end quote. A spokesperson for the Houthis says, quote, "Our military operations in support of Gaza will not cease until the aggression against Gaza stops and the blockade of its residents lifted, allowing the entry of food, medicine, and fuel. As for our attacks on the U.S., they fall within the context of the right to self-defense. If it halts its attacks on us, we will halt our attacks on it. This position also applies to Britain. We are committed to operations in support of Gaza, regardless of the sacrifices it costs us. If the U.S. persists with its operations in support of the Zionist entity, even if they are immoral, the only way to stop the war and avoid escalation is for the U.S. to pressure Netanyahu to respect the terms of the ceasefire agreement. At that point, we will halt all of our military operations in the Red Sea and deep within the Zionist entity." That is from the Houthis. Their official spokesman said that. So in other words, Yemen is still focused on stopping Israel's assault on Gaza and making that their point. And that they hope that the U.S., I'm just summarizing, obviously, that they hope Trump will somehow influence Bibi to actually enforce and keep that ceasefire. Israel obviously not a party to this truce, so they will continue to bomb Yemen. Israel will continue to bomb Gaza, and in fact, they have actually spoken out and said that they are ready to execute the final phases of their operation in Gaza and now just take over the entire Gaza Strip. So I don't know what this truce even means between the U.S. and the Houthis, given that 97% of the ships that go through the Red Sea are European ships.
Yeah. Well, what it is from everything that I saw, from Russian and Indian media yesterday about the story, was that one thing, Trump did not consult Bibi, so I guess he kind of took them by surprise again. The Israelis weren't told this was going to happen. Also, the Yemenis made it very clear they were still going to continue firing on Israeli flagged ships. They said they would not fire on American flagged ships. So as far as Yemen's concerned, they've won. I mean, who knows what the truth of it is? I mean, two Super Hornets were lost by the U.S. Navy in the last 8 days, like $100 million a pop. So I'm sure the Yemen feels pretty good about this.
That's pretty funny. But although that had nothing to do the Yemenis or the Houthis. One was one of the U.S. carriers took a sharp turn, and the jet just skid off the side of the ship. And this last one, they just lost last night or the night before. They came in for a landing and skid off the runway on the USS Truman.
Yeah,
So,
if you've lived with the military,
either way,
I mean, who knows? I mean, either way, I'm sure Yemen, the Yemenis look is pretty good. So they're kind of thinking, if you are here in the Red Sea, you still have your planes. Maybe you should leave.
That's true.
So I mean, no, you don't have all the Houthis have to do to win is survive. That's all they have to do. If they survive, they get to claim a win. And they've been surviving the last 20 years. We've tried to starve them out. We tried to use the Saudis to beat them out. They kicked the Saudis' butts and blew up a couple of Saudi oil refineries. We've been bombing them, and the Houthis just keep on flying the middle finger at the Orange Man and keep shooting missiles at Israel. So I mean, they're clearly not short of an American ground invasion. Maybe that could be headed by the new training division of the U.S. Marine Corps. I don't see you getting rid of the Houthis out of Yemen.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're too entrenched in there. A couple of things, Robbie. There's a troll dropping some links in the Rumble feed.
I'll get him.
That.
I will get him right now.
And also, do we have any ads from any of our sponsors?
We do not. Let me see here. Let me take care of this little guy right here. Let's fix this troll. But no, we do not have any. We have no ads right now currently.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you on this whole Yemen thing. Like, we shouldn't be there in the first place, but
what's the point? I mean, why are we there?
Our military doesn't even serve anymore to protect the homeland or protect the language has expanded over the past 40 or 50 years to say American interests. And then they leave that word interest in there for a reason, because it can be constantly expanded and added to say, well, it's in our interest to protect our homies in Israel. It's in our interest to protect the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. It's in our interest to, so, you just keep expanding the terminology and what.
I mean, what you just have described is right. I really don't care about the whole trans issue in the military. I mean, I honestly don't. The point of our military is not to defend our country anymore. It's to project power and build an empire.
Hired guns at this point, and that's not right.
It's a mercenary force, and I really don't. I don't understand what the whole value even behind. I don't understand the value of having a military as big as the one that we even have. Why are we there? I mean, what is the point? Seriously, what are we doing? It makes no sense.
Because Donald Trump is loaning out our military to the homies in Israel. So, American lives are at risk for the homies, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just Trump. I mean, this has been going on since 1945. I mean, why are we still in Europe? Why are we there? Why are we in Japan? Why are we in Korea? Why are we there? I
agree. We're loaning out our military. So that's that. Not much to say there. That of course right there is like the tiny way down at the bottom. You can't even see it is the Red Sea. All right, let's move on real quick to what's happening over in Germany, because there was drama yesterday for Friedrich Merz. He was finally officially made the new chancellor. There he is right there.
He's got to do something about his hair.
I know, the little tuft of hair in the front. It's just kind of ridiculous. Tuesday was a kind of roller coaster event for Friedrich Merz. He's the leader of the Germany conservative CDU-CSU party alliance. That's, you got to have alliances there. It's a parliament. After unexpectedly failing to secure enough Bundestag votes to become chancellor on the first try, this is very unusual. They had to go to a second one. This is the first time in a post-World War II Germany that they had to do a second round of voting. So Merz now takes power atop this grand establishment coalition between CDU and CSU. And historical center-left rivals, the Social Democrats. The new boss of the EU's most populous and powerful country has quite a to-do list, like revive a moribund, in other words, outdated economy amid deepening defense and trade spending. He needs to boost defense spending, even though their economy is kind of in the shitter, amid doubts about Washington's commitment to NATO again. He has to hold together this unified EU position on Ukraine. I don't even know why that's like on the top of their to-do. Well, I mean, I do know why. What am I saying? And he's got to head off the surging popularity of the far right there, the anti-establishment, all kinds of stuff, AFD.
Yeah, the German Robbies.
Basically, which came in second in the February elections. And they have continually tried to stomp and step on the heads of the AFD, but the AFD has been like a hydra. They chop off one head and it grows back two more somewhere else in another part of Germany, and it swept the elections. Like whether it's their governors or local, I guess we would call them like city councils. The AFD is really a rising power over there, so it's come in second. So he's gonna have to juggle a lot of things. The first round hiccup makes this all harder. So how strong is Merz's coalition? Not very. Merz's group or combo group here controls 328 of the Bundestag's 630 seats. The first round of this secret ballot, which is funny to me that they get to vote secret, whereas like our Congress, they roll call them by name and you vote yay or nay, right? This is more, the Bundestag is run more like the Papal conclave, where the Pope, your name isn't on there. You just drop your vote, whoever you select into the box and whatever, and then it gets burned.
Well, because they don't have a congressional whip. I mean, you're in DC. You know how this works.
There's no whip, yeah.
If you have someone who's kind of on the fence, then, like for example, with I'm sure that Thomas Massie has had plenty of calls with Republican leadership.
Oh, sure.
But Massie is a rare duck in that he just simply doesn't care, and he just sticks to his principles. A lot of people, though, if you threaten them being primaried or you threaten to kill their pet project, then if you don't fall in line, that's what happens. I think that's probably why the Germans are doing this. It's probably a better system for a parliamentary system than as a two-party duopoly like we've got.
Right. So there's a lot of good that we could probably look and reflect at. Today, Merz was already, this just happened last night. So Merz is officially confirmed. He's the chancellor. He's already hanging out with Emmanuel Macron. France is the second biggest power, very close, second biggest economy within the European Union. They are the two powerhouses that are basically shouldering the entire burden and weight of the European Union. And they, of course, are the ones that are also the architects of trying to continue the war in Ukraine. They don't want Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin to be nice to each other. They don't want those two to meet. These two men right here, what we're looking at right here, are the two very people that are already, I can tell you, Robbie, because this is the first meeting that Chancellor Merz is taking, right out the gates, is to meet with Emmanuel Macron.
Mm-hmm.
That means the first order of business is, how do we keep this Ukraine grift going? That's why he's there. That's why they're meeting right away, because these two are the ones that are trying to continue whatever backroom broker deals that they're trying to make in Ukraine to keep the grift going and keep a wedge between the United States and Russia.
Yeah. Well, it's in Europe's interest, to do it right, because since the earliest days of NATO, and I know you've seen this reported before, is the stated goal was to keep Germany down and America in. So, that was the entire idea, was to keep the United States dragged into Europe. The problem is, though, is that from a strategic standpoint, Europe just simply doesn't matter as much as it used to. Asia is where all the action is.
Oh, for sure.
So, and so if the United States is rightly concerned about a rising China, then that means the Europeans got to be crapping bricks, because you can't have these generous welfare benefits, and your open borders is your Schengen zone if your military is not outsourced to the American military. I mean, that's
right.
That's the issue. And so how you make that happen? What you do is that you just keep on just playing on the Cold War propaganda about those the evil Russians who are so incompetent they can't conquer all of Ukraine, but they're going to march on Paris in a week. So I don't know how you square that particular peg, but that's what they do. And most Americans are just checked out. I mean, we're more interested in trying to figure out how to pay the bills and just make a living.
I agree.
And so that's what they're doing. That's how they're playing this game. Is it going to work? I don't know. I mean, if Trump was smart, and I wish he would do this, is that he would, again, being the commander in chief, he could just say, I want y'all to draw up plans. We are closing every military base in Europe in 2 years. We're bringing all of our troops home. We're going to put them on the border. And
God, that would make them shit bricks.
And you know what? I am perfectly good with that. Now, if they want to have a contingent, maybe you can put together a transgender division. You can send it there to Germany with their pride flag, and they can defend Germany for them. I would be on board with this, because it's a very
back in the day, let me tell you, in the day, I've been to some pretty interesting nightclubs in Germany. And people like Sam Brinton.
Oh, they fit right
tall, already over 6 feet tall to begin with. And then wearing like 5-inch platform boots. And I've been to some interesting nightclubs in Germany.
I mean, listen, I have no problem whatsoever with putting up. If Europe wants to do that, they can set up a brand new division. They could even reach way back to the days of ancient Greece with the Theban band. The sacred band is what they called it. It was an army of homosexuals, and they fought together as a unit. There's a real thing, and they were evidently ferocious fighters, and Alexander the Great's father killed every last man of them when he took it was Thebes. Yeah, when he took Thebes and burned it to the ground. So if that's what you want to do, more power to you. It's a storied military tradition. I hope that they continue it.
Well, that's a possibility. So I think these two are going to be shitting bricks because they haven't figured out what Donald Trump's actual plan is. Because like we said on Monday, Donald Trump reissuing, sending out some Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine is people are like, wait a minute, you just yelled at him. You and JD Vance ganged up on him at the White House, kicked his ass out. He didn't even get lunch. And then you bump into him at the Pope's funeral. And now you're like, wishy-washy. And then suddenly you're giving Patriot missile batteries. So is Trump in? Is Trump out? Is Trump into Zelensky this week? This is like some stupid high school couple that keeps breaking up and getting back together and breaking up and getting back together. And these two are trying to manage the whole thing because obviously it's helpful for them to continue the grift so they can continue manufacturing their arms and whatever. It's all Department of Defense grifts for all of these countries that are involved.
Listen, if I was a European, if I was a leader of a European country, I would want America to stay there. Why wouldn't I? It would be in my interest to have the United States there. That's the problem. That's the problem with alliances, is that smaller, weaker nations always want to leverage the power of the bigger partner.
The bigger guns.
So for them, it makes perfect sense. That's how you get World War I, though. So I mean, it's stupid.
But look, economically speaking, the Germans fucked up by allowing the Nord Stream pipelines to get blown up. That was step number one to fuck up your economy. If you're looking for a way to be forced into buying, look, there's a price for hiring American guns, right? If you want America there in your NATO little country club, if you want American bases there, the point is you're going to have to buy American, very, very expensive LNG and then process it yourself because we don't have any LNG processing plants. It has to go offshore. So for Germany, how they're not learning this lesson yet already when they were getting cheap, sweet Russian fuel via Nord Stream 1 and 2, Mayors has certainly not just broached that topic with Donald Trump, even though he's been, the quasi-elected leader for like 2.5, 3 months at this point. He just got his confirmation, obviously, yesterday. But we knew that Olaf Scholz was on his way out already like 3 months ago. So neither one of these men have broached the topic with Donald Trump about Nord Stream. And hey, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that you were in cahoots with the people that blew up our pipeline. We invested money in this too. Where's our restitution? Or give us a deep discount. None of that has happened from the Bundestag.
I think that probably,
No
I think it's two things. One, I think that the Germans are effectively neutered after World War II. I think that maybe some Germans are starting to rediscover their balls, but not enough of them yet. But I think it's going the right way. Plus, and I think this is probably figures really strongly in. I mean, you have 100,000 American soldiers inside your country. What could you possibly do? I mean, if you have a foreign army occupying your country, you're the other country's bitch. I mean, let's just be honest.
Look,
so I mean, seriously, let's just say
Volkswagen is shuttering its production.
I mean, what can you do
in Germany for the first time since its founding by the Nazis?
Yeah,
literally, this is the first time since the early 1900s when Volkswagen was first founded by the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Nazi engineers. We're talking in the 1930s. This is the first time ever Volkswagen has shuttered its doors, and it's shuttering a plant in Germany. So that tells you a lot about the German economy in the past, basically 100 years. We're coming up on 100 years.
The best thing that could happen to Europe, and I mean this sincerely, would be for America to leave. Because it would force them to remember who and what they are. It would force them to remember that they are the independent sovereign nation states with national interests of their own.
Sure. And
they'll have to relearn how to defend their interests and how to stand up and how to be men. That would be the best thing that they could possibly ever do.
Yeah, that's probably right. All right. We're going to make that the last story, and then I'll let you explain to everybody what happened, what was up with our new I call it the pre-roll video. If you guys don't know, it's because we're obviously operating on Rumble Studio, and in order to sync up all the feeds of like YouTube, of Twitter, of all this stuff, there's like roughly a 60-second delay, right, to sync everything up. So we needed a video that we can just put out there, so that way there is a live feed and everything could sync up, and then everyone sees the same thing at the same time, rather than Rumble getting cut off. The viewers at Rumble can't see the very first minute or two sometimes, right? We had to put in a video in its place before we even do our actual, in-show theme music. So I put together the most annoying video on earth of like an 80s acid trip. And I literally chose music from YouTube's license-free library.
It is their own music.
It is their music that they allow tens of thousands of audio content there of people that have surrendered their user licenses to allow to be in YouTube's free user library, because they tried to ding us the first time, even though the first video I made was already license free by the content creator on YouTube. It said, feel free, take my blah, 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 like use my stuff. I enjoy making it. Use my stuff. And I said, oh, I like this track. I'll use that. And it matched my 80s theme that I was going for. So YouTube dinged us for that. And then I went to YouTube's library.
Yeah, and Beyond Formal rated the stream. So he came over with a bunch of people who are watching his stream. So welcome. Thank you for coming over here on Rumble and showing us some love. I appreciate you. That's what that is. Sorry.
There was cool graphics with Beyond Formal. How did that happen?
So what will happen is that with Rumble, if you're doing a live stream and your stream ends, you can look and see who else is streaming. So let's just say if you had 20 people watching your stream, if you rate a stream, those 20 people will go with you to the stream that you're going to. So that's what that is. So you came over, you showed us some love. So we appreciate that. Sorry, continue your story.
Beyond Formal. Thank you so much. No, I don't know all the capabilities yet of what's happening in, with how all this stuff operates, with Rumble. So I'm glad that you explained that. I didn't know what that was, because there's a cool graphic there with like a Viking ship.
Well, because I mean,
So-
eventually what's going to happen is that I have no doubt eventually we're going to be completely kicked off of YouTube. Anyway, continue your talk.
No, I'm done. That was my part that I played when I was doing this on, because I was trying to create this to make it YouTube friendly.
Right.
And as you guys know, YouTube shit canned Manila Chan's solo channel that had been there for like 10 years, 12 years at that point. They shit canned me at the beginning of the year and claimed that I violated terms of service. They've never elaborated. They won't allow me to have my independent channel on YouTube. I'm banned from having an independent channel on YouTube because I'm some sort of threat somehow. And YouTube obviously does not have to explain itself because it is the media conglomerate and new media conglomerate and new media just monopoly. There's no other way to put it, because YouTube is Google is Alphabet, and they own everything, all of the algorithms. The internet basically is Alphabet. So I have this sense that they're because they have an axe to grind with me, that they are attacking the TMI show. So we've had to do this new video. So Robbie, explain.
Okay.
We had to use a new track.
Yep, we did. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch the screen share. So the stream's going to pop off just a moment. Then I'm going to take y'all behind the scenes onto our YouTube studio, so y'all can see what me and Manila and Ted see every day. And I will show y'all what YouTube did, and I'm going to explain to y'all how we're going to try and play this game and try and deal with it. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to give it.
This is why we need your support, especially on Rumble. This is especially why we need that.
So I'm going to pop off and then refresh here for just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Oh.
And do we have any sponsor reads? Thank you, El Mission.
What the hell did I just do? Hold on.
I'm gonna show that. Read your sponsors before you split.
Yeah, we don't have any sponsors right now currently. So let me
popped up right now.
No, I'm getting to it right now. Okay, so here we go. Y'all should be seeing it now. Let's jump over here to Rumble present. Okay, yep, you are seeing it. Okay, so this is the back end. This is what we look at every day.
Wait, where are you seeing that? I'm not seeing it.
If you look on the Rumble feed, you should be able to see it now.
Look on our Rumble feed.
Yeah, if you go to our Rumble channel, you should be able to see it.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, you're seeing it? Beautiful. Because I had to end the stream. I had to pop off of our YouTube feed, then jump over here to this is what we're doing. Okay, so here's what's going on. So yesterday's episode 132, as y'all can see, we got 1,343 views. It went viral, that little dust up that we had yesterday. We had a total of 23 likes, great numbers. This video got more views than we got in the entire month of April. And so it went really good. So what YouTube then did is that they copyrighted us. So y'all can see right here, the stream is blocked. You cannot change it. It's blocked. So I'm going to go and see what exactly it is the issue. So what happened? There are visibility restrictions on your video. Your channel isn't affected. So nice of you, YouTube, except it is because you just blew up everything we did yesterday. The copyright claims on your video don't affect your channel, which is bullshit. So visibility, the video cannot be seen due to one or more claim. Here's the claim. That god-awful music that Manila was using on the old intro, it is YouTube's own music. So it's called Loopop. I guess that's how you say that. So I'm going to see the details.
I don't know.
It is YouTube's own music. It is their music, and it has a global license.
YouTube owns the license.
They own it is a global license. It can be used in any country.
Right. And it is in, I can't underscore this enough. It is in their free for all user license free selections. You can select from XYZ tracks that are on there, whatever one you like, in the tens of thousands of audio, whatever you like, use it for free, no problem, no license.
And so what YouTube did is that they copyrighted us on a song with a global license that they own. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to say, where is it to take action? You can't do anything. You can't replace the song. I can't trim it out. I can do nothing. This is how YouTube is censoring the TMI show. They do this with a lot of different things. Like the episode that y'all did that you did with Ted last Friday. They did the exact same thing on, but they didn't take the whole video down. They took this video down because of how many views it is that it received. So the reason why I'm showing y'all this, and for those of you who are on YouTube, I cannot stress this enough. The day will come where you'll tune in to see Manila Chan, Ted Rall, and maybe me, and we will not be here. That is a statement of fact. And the reason why we will not be here will be because YouTube has deemed us a problem, and they will cancel the stream. They'll just turn off the channel is what will happen.
Right. They'll just shut us off.
They will shut it down. That is the reality. So if you value this show, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to ask that you come over to Rumble. Because our days on YouTube are numbered. Manila Chan, my friend and co-host here of the show, YouTube went so far with their censorship that they deleted her personal YouTube channel. Her personal channel.
I was a paying subscriber, so I can watch videos the way Rumble Premium is. Same thing, right? I have Rumble Premium and YouTube Premium. YouTube completely shit canned like my entire my account, not even just my channel. They blew up. First, they came after, they would nitpick after the content I would post, right? Like when I was still at RT. So they'd nitpick a couple of things. Then RT America shuttered in March of 2022. And then they would say, this video violated this term or this video. Yeah. And then remember, on the back end of YouTube, it has this banner right across the top of YouTube Studio that says, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but it says, if you are exploiting the Ukraine war, if you're making light of it, or if you're doing this or whatever, that's a no-no. Basically, if you are saying anything antithetical to the approved narrative that Slava Ukraini, Ukraine is winning, Volodymyr Zelensky is the hottest, sexiest man alive, George Clooney, who, unless you're saying any of those approved narratives, at least if it comes from Manila Chan, it is banned. So they started taking down individual videos of my own. So finally, right around New Year's 2025, they just completely shuttered my entire channel. They started by demonetizing, little by little, right?
Yep.
And it was a slow creep. We got here to full authoritarian on them. It was all original content of my own, to which I own the creative license, even for the stuff that I was creating for RT, put out internationally, that never aired on American TVs ever. It was never on terrestrial television in the US. I owned the creative license to that. I invented the show. I am the show creator. I own the license. I licensed it to RT to air. So YouTube decided there was too much critical thinking happening, I guess. So they entirely blew up my account. Manila Chan's not allowed to have an account at YouTube.
Yeah, and I just shared the link over onto the YouTube channel. So I mean, just looking at the numbers, from I can see where YouTube is actively throttling the stream. It's bad. So I mean, if it was just my show, I would just pull the plug and just not even be on YouTube. However, the entire idea, though, is to grow and build this thing and reach as many people as we can. So I understand why we got to play the game. But what you, the viewer, needs to understand is that one day, and I don't know when that day is going to happen,
Right.
the TMI show will no longer be on Rumble. And
no,
so
not Rumble. YouTube.
Or YouTube. So if you don't value
we will be on Rumble.
So yeah, we'll be on Rumble. We won't be on YouTube.
Rumble is our home base.
Rumble's actually supporting us,
Right?
Which is huge. I mean, and listen, I mean, you are not. Some of y'all in the chat, some of y'all love me, some of y'all hate me. Some of y'all love Ted, some of y'all hate Ted. Some of y'all, basically, all y'all love Manila, which I agree. I mean, she's awesome. But the reason I bring that up is that you're not going to find content with a centrist, a right winger, and a communist bringing you honest, unfiltered opinions anywhere else. You're not going to find it. So if you value this, if you value what the content that's being produced, come to Rumble.
That's the only place we're safe. Honestly, just because I've been having this happen to me for the past 3 years with YouTube, I can't. How do you even begin to fight them? Right? Like you can't. It's just it's David and Goliath, but in this fight, David loses.
No.
So the only place this show is actually safe is Rumble, because YouTube keeps making these false claims against us. They're nitpicking at us, and we have no recourse at all. Like there's no.
Well, the censorship is real. I mean, YouTube, for example, I mean, they demonetized Mark Sablota's channel. That's why he didn't post anything on YouTube anymore.
Right.
He doesn't care.
Right.
They did the same.
Speaking of which,
Caleb Moffitt.
Same thing. And it's dangerous thoughts, dangerous ideas that they don't want you to hear. They want you to still say the vaccine is safe and effective. Slava Ukraini, the Ukrainians are winning. Vladimir Putin is a dictator. All of these things, those are the things that YouTube algorithms are programmed to favor. And those are none of the things that you will ever hear from us.
No, I mean, here we will tell you what we think. Now, like on today's episode, I really need to really wade into it because I really don't care about the issue. However, if you really want to know where I feel, come to my Putin Bot Speaks podcast, and I will tell you exactly how I feel. And that's only on Rumble because I'm free to speak my mind. Mark Sablota, right. We're going to be doing our very first premium stream with him. And
no, not a stream. Does it have to be live? No,
yeah. Well, it's a pre-tape, so I've still got to stream
pre-tape.
It. Yeah, so we're
no, that's what I mean. When you say it's live, I'm like, wait a minute. So as far as I know, we're pre-taping with Mark this afternoon,
but I have to stream it. Is the way that'll work.
So we talk to Mark later this afternoon. That'll air. We'll air a clip of it Friday, and then we'll post it up in full for everybody to hear on Rumble Premium. It is a Rumble Premium only for our first content for Rumble Premium. So we're gonna urge you now, if our spicy talk isn't spicy already, you'll find the spiciest of talks at Rumble Premium. You have to be a subscriber only. And then we're also trying to suss out how we determine what we're going to do that's separate from Rumble Premium for our paywalled subscribers.
I don't even think we're going to need to do that though, Manila, honestly, like with the locals and stuff, because it doesn't make any sense to put something behind two different paywalls. And so I think that if someone if they become a Rumble premium subscriber, I mean, that's really all that you would need. But we can talk about that off camera.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off air. So like I said, we're trying to learn the policies of each different program.
I don't want to charge someone. I just don't want to charge someone twice for.
No, me neither. I agree.
Same thing.
But we're just warning you now. This is similar to what happened to my personal channel, what is now happening to the TMI show. So speaking from experience, these are the murmurings. This is how it starts. This is how they start boiling the frog. So if you guys are enjoying the show and want to hear more spicy talk, we'll deliver the straight news first, and then we'll give you our commentary on the back end of it. if you guys enjoy that, please go over to Rumble. That is the only safe place that this show can exist. And I know that YouTube owns over 90% of the streaming market, so it is the devil we have to dance with. That's just the way it is until Rumble, grows, and that's going to take some time. But YouTube has been around for like 20 years, whereas Rumble's only a few years old.
But there are glimmers of hope, though, which is nice, because the courts ruled that that Google does have a monopoly on ad revenue, which is true. I mean, they own 90% of it, through the global ad exchange, and so it's going to take time. Will the ad revenue will the ad monopoly ever be broken? I don't know, but that's why Rumble is going to this the subscriber model that they have, because being a content creator is great. The problem is, though, is that if you can't pay your bills,
right,
you can't be a content creator. So that's the issue, and that's where Rumble is really kind of stepping up, reinvesting into its creators. YouTube will never do that, and even my gaming channel. I mean, YouTube is they've actually demonetized my YouTube channel again.
Look, it used to mean something when you said you were alternative media and you're on YouTube, right? It used to mean something, but now YouTube is the mainstream.
Yeah,
it has become the mainstream. It is itself. It has subsumed itself into the position of being mainstream alternative media, which I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but that's what it is. YouTube is now the place you go to if you are a content creator that will basically play by mainstream media's, like, let's say CNN, MSNBC, right? I wasn't with them. In fact, I left the mainstream to go work for RT because of censorship. And then the jaws of censorship came and got us anyway. And here we are again. Now we're on YouTube, and the same thing is happening. So I'll tell you right now that we are on the track of being shit canned by YouTube very soon. So please head over to the Rumble channel and subscribe to us there, because I think that's the only place we're going to be able to live very, very soon. That's the only place the show is going to exist.
No, and Elon Musk, for all of his bluster about how X is a free speech platform, it is not. I mean,
I'm still shadow banned.
The old boss is the same as the new boss. Well, Yacarino, she's the one who's in charge of the moderation policy. She's the
Linda
one
Yacarino.
under Jack Dorsey who
she came from NBC Universal.
Of course. So I mean,
she is the mainstream. It's like Elon was saying he wants to be free speech, whatever, and then he goes and hires the most mainstream executive he can find in Linda Yacarino. Like, this is insane. So really, the only hope for us is Rumble. That's our only refuge. So there's that.
No, I mean, if you value it, go to Rumble. Another really cool thing, even if you're not able to, I'm gonna let y'all know something else right now. Rumble's really awesome. The way this content creator program works, you're not paid so much by ad revenue. One of the ways that you're able to support the TMI show on Rumble is just simply by watching the videos, because you actually get paid based off of your watch hours. So if you enjoy this content, binge watch TMI. Hate your favorite right winger, which is me, or hate your favorite communist, which is Ted, or love Manila. It could just be an out love fest. It is what it is. But seriously, watch it on Rumble. And one of the things I will start doing more of, hopefully starting next month, is I'm going to start making just more standalone videos and just posting them just over on Rumble for people to. That way, if you want to just find your favorite segments, that way you have to go through an entire live stream, try and find it. I'm going to categorize them all in playlists. So like the best of Mark Sloboda.
Shout out to Peter1VE over on Rumble, now a monthly supporter. Thank you so much for that, Peter. I don't know how to make
awesome.
this.
Thank you.
I don't know how. We also still have to figure out the new studio rules of how you can post people's questions or comments. I don't know if you can do that, Robbie,
let me
give a shout out. We might as well test it now.
Let me see. I
might as well test it out.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. I don't think he'll let me.
Rumble Studio.
Yeah, I don't know how you. I don't know if he'll let me. Let me see. Hold on.
Because I can do it on the YouTube side.
Let me see here.
Oh, thank you. El Mission. I don't know if it's pronounced El Mission or El Mission. we're talking about Ed Schultz here in the
won't let
chat.
me.
I miss Ed every day, and Ed was one of my mentors, and I knew a thing or two. I was already an experienced journalist by the time I worked for Ed, but then Ed really, really, said, "Come here, girl, and shook some more journalism sense into me, and really gave me that fighting spirit, and he was a real mentor to me, and I always think about how to keep that alive, and what would Ed say about this shit now,
Okay.
and
So
Ed would be fucking livid.
So it looks like
I know
can.
it.
So on Rumble, if I double click in the studio, if I double click on a message, I can pop it up, but I can't pop up the notification. So, but thank you, Peter.
So yes, I don't know how we got Adrian up there.
Well, because what you do
the
if you
other day,
well, you can't do it
I don't know
because
how that
well, he did it because he did a Rumble rant. So if you do a rant, your message will pop up automatically on the screen. But I didn't have the stream running in real time, so I didn't see the message staying up there for like 30 minutes. So that was on me.
Right. So okay. So
But no, but if you're on the back end of studio though, so y'all get to see just right now how it all works. So if I can just double click on Adrian's comment right here. Linda's a total swamp creature. I can just double click it, and you'll see it there on the Rumble feed now. But a notification though is different from a message.
Oh.
So that's what that is.
Interesting. Okay. I see Adrian's comment. Okay, so you can click on comments, but you cannot. Okay, so shout out to Peter. Thank you so much.
Let me actually hold on. I wonder, will this work? Hold on. How about if I turn on a donation banner? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. These will be things just to kind of play with, because eventually, y'all, the moral of the story is that eventually we're not going to be on YouTube anymore. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Oops.
Yeah, I don't know what else to do at this point. The writing is on the wall. So I'm just warning everybody that the writing's on the wall. I don't know if can you skirt by, Robbie, by making it private content? But then what's the point? Because then there's no reach, right? Like,
Screw it. Yeah, I would rather. I don't want to self-censor. It's kind of like what we were talking about before, with the segment about the trannies, is if they're able to control what you say, it's a very short road before they're able to control what you think, because self-censorship starts in your mind. And so, and again, like I said yesterday, I promise you, I'm really not a dick. I'm actually a pretty nice guy. But, and this is a big but, I know what I believe. I understand reality, and I'm not going to let someone force me to say something that is factually not true.
Right. Because and YouTube is basically going to do that to us.
Yeah, because once I start saying a guy is a girl, or a girl is a guy, or a poodle is a German shepherd, or Ukraine is winning, I have then ceded them that power to control what I say and then control what I think. And I will not do that. That's why I'm so hardcore on this stuff. It's not because I hate these people. I don't. I think they're sick. I think they need to get help. But the reason why I refuse to play this game is because you do not have the right to tell me what I must think to comply. I refuse to be a victim of a thought crime. You cannot put me in your jail. I will not do it. I will not comply, and I will not shut up. You can ban me, you can kill me, but until then, I will continue speaking the truth, and I will not shut up.
And I honestly think I've been through this before in my life as a journalist, getting deported in the Middle East. The powers that be don't want to tell you exactly why it is that they are censoring you. So they make up reasons.
It's made on purpose. And like the song that we used on today's intro, I used AI to make it. And whenever I generated it, I used footage specifically from the Iraq war in Gaza as a giant middle finger to the people who are trying to say that Israel's not committing a genocide, that the United States is justified in killing 2 million Iraqis, that saying that starving babies to death is okay. It's not okay. It is wrong. And that's why I made the song the way that I did.
So anyway, we'll leave that there. You guys have plenty of notice that on Friday we will drop Mark Sloboda's full interview in the premium section. We will air some of it on the show on Friday, so we're going to save room on the show to give you at least a portion of it. But then to hear Mark go completely bonkers, we cannot share the whole thing because it's not going to be YouTube friendly anyways, even if we wanted to share it. So the
way that works with the Rumble
the
Premium
stream.
stream is that you can see up to the first minute, just is how it will work. So the first minute is what Rumble calls free. Then after that, that's when we'll switch over to the Rumble Premium subscription only paywall. Right. And
no, but I mean, we'll cut it. I plan on cutting, let's say 10 or 15 minutes worth of Mark. I'm just putting it out there, X amount of time.
Gotcha.
I'll cut X amount of video for us to roll already on air tomorrow for Thursday, but then we'll drop the entire full interview.
Gotcha. You can make like a little teaser. Gotcha.
On Friday. Yes. So, because I know the audience misses Mark anyway, but because of his scheduling conflicts, we're going to talk to him at about 3:00 Eastern time, DC time, which is when Mark is free. So it's got to be done that way anyways. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for supporting us. Help us grow. Please spread the word. What is it called? Rating our feed. Rate our feeds more. Please help us.
Yeah, that was our first ever raid. That was the first time that we got rated by another Rumble content creator. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, Rumble is new media. It is independent. If you want free speech, you come to Rumble. I mean, Rumble and Pickaxe. Pickaxe is awesome. I've been on Pickaxe a lot lately. I like it a lot.
I don't do any social media. So.
Well, you are now because you have to help me promote the show.
I know.
You've been hired.
I know. All right, guys. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much. And hearing out what's happening and, for supporting us truly, genuinely, while Ted and I are technically the ones out of work. Robbie's the only one with an actual real job. And we're trying to.
That's why I'm looking over. That's why I'm looking to the right all the time. Is because I'm doing my day job while I'm doing this. So I'm not ignoring y'all, and I don't have a crick in my neck. I'm working while I do this. It's crazy.
You're so far right that you look to the right all day, Robbie. Damn it.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I'm one of those Bible thumping conservatives. That's what I do.
Deplorable. All right. From here in Washington, D.C., I'm Manila Chan. That over there is deplorable producer Robbie in Montana. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you in a little while. Robbie will be talking to Mark Sloboda. Adios, amigos.
Real quick. Hey, YouTube. Fuck you. Okay, I'm done now.